Now there's a sound I haven't heard for a while. Welcome back to Driving Maul, where blokes trudge rugby right here on Loud Radio every Tuesday from 11 a.m. Sharky, welcome back. It's been a while.
Long time. Did you have a good festive season?
Yeah, summer hiatus of sorts from rugby and all things rugby considered from my side.
For you, maybe.
Yeah, disappeared to go and raise some newborns for a few months, and now we're back. And
now you just offload them with the wife and have a good time again.
That's it, and the rest are back at school. Plenty to discuss today. IRB Sevens is back on this weekend. Super Rugby round the corner, and the United...
That would be World Rugby Sevens. It is no longer the IRB.
Fair enough. And the United Nations starts this weekend. Sorry, Six Nations. But they may as well change the name for that too, given the number of foreign-born players being selected by the Northern Hemisphere sides. But we'll discuss that in due course. First, though, it's that time of the year here in Cape Town again. The Takealot.com Cape Town 10s is on this weekend at Hammy's Rugby Club. You playing, Sharks?
Yes, playing for the Dynamiters again. My second year running out with the Old Farts, and looking forward to it. But I tell you, the Crocs, or the veteran section, is going to be one of the most hotly contested leagues out there. There's some big boys, Christian Cullen, Flecky Skinner are always involved, Carlos Spencer, David Berry, Maurice Hubert, all those guys, and they're not all playing for one side. They're kind of spread across the vet section, so it's going to be a tough comp.
And there's some interesting team names floating around, like the Laafveld Skopperjakke and the Dirty Seagulls.
A lot of guys actually, this is their annual tour, and they prepping for it long before Bryce in November, December, getting ready. And, the social media is quite entertaining when it comes to that. There's some very good banter coming out. And, guys are just down for a good social weekend of rugby and party. But, it all... effectively boils down to, as much as the fun and the rugby is all there to enjoy, is the senior comp. And the senior comp's quite different this year. I think there are 8 sides in it. UCT are fielding 4 sides. Marties are not in it this year. So it's UCT with 4. Hammies are putting in a senior side. SK Warmers, and I know False Bay are in, amongst a couple of other guys. Western Province and Western Province Academy. And basically everyone plays everyone, and top 2 of the log play each other in the final. So it's a little bit of a different setup. There are no quarterfinals or semis. It's just straight into a final.
What I didn't realise either, though, is they have 10s netball going on at the same time. And there's between the rugby and the netball, there's 150 teams participating this weekend.
Yeah, well, there are not 10 players in the netball side, but it's yes. And they actually launched that last year. And... it's a little bit off. It's more on the Greenpoint Cricket Cup side, so the guys playing ruggers don't get to see the young ladies playing netball too often, unfortunately. But it's growing, and there's a sort of a little media stroke mini celeb team playing as well, with Jack Parra and Civ and Savage from Life is Savage. So it's going to be entertaining.
Yeah, and I mean, talking about Jack Barry, he's part of the entertainment along with Good Luck, the Kiffness. I think me and Mr. Brown are playing Brent Harris, 3 Jam, the River Tones. So there's lots going on, and I do know that for Friday it's 100 Rand to get in, and on Saturday it's $125 to get in.
And there is a weekend pass as well.
Yeah, there was an early bird special for $130 for the weekend. I'm not entirely sure if that's still going, but check out capetown10s.com.
Yeah, all the details are up there, and it's brilliant. And also South Africa, or Africa's biggest bar as well. And they're busy building it as we speak.
I didn't know this. Tens was started in Malaysia. It's the only form of rugby competition that wasn't started in a top tier level test playing nation. In fact, Malaysia have never even played at a World Cup.
Yeah, I knew it was started out there. I didn't know that it was the only sort of type that was not invented. But I know, and Sri Lanka, Malaysia, Bangkok, I know the old Crocs and the vets have tournaments out there every year. There are lots of 7s tournaments, lots of 10s tournaments out that side. Often guys are out there touring and potting.
I'm looking forward to it. Shockingly, I've never actually made it down to even an afternoon of 10s in the 5 years it's been going. But I have been multiplying children over that time, so I have valid excuses. And nicely, I've now got a nanny entertained to work from until 6:30 every evening, so I can be there till rather late on Friday, and I'm looking forward to it. Come down and laugh at all you Muppets running around in the heat.
It's going to be warm.
Yes.
Anyway, it kicks off. I think it kicks off around about 10 or 11 on Friday, and at about 10 o'clock on Saturday as well. So, running the whole day. Lots of entertainment and great food as well.
Great time to start drinking beer on a Friday afternoon in Cape Town too. From 10s on to 7s,
we're off.
It's Wellington 7s this weekend.
Off to Wellington. I know most of the sides are there. The Blitzbook are up there already. They landed yesterday. So or the day before, and a lot of teams have.
I didn't see any footage of the Kaapse Klopse meeting them at Auckland Airport, but I'm sure it happened again.
Yeah, no, they didn't. They were greeted by more traditional Kiwis, but I'm looking forward to it. I think just chatting a bit about the SA side. I mentioned 2 tournaments ago. It's the strongest sevens squad I've ever seen us produce, and the most balanced, and
it's even stronger now with Geduld and Dry back in the squad. Just to clarify that team, go for it. It's but I mean it is ridiculously strength, and that Kwagga Smith just keeps going from strength to strength. I mean that X got a face for a 22-year-old. Yeah, no,
he's solid. But the last 2 tournaments that we got involved in. I kind of picked us up to win the World Series this year. I really think we've got what it takes. I think Neil Powell's done the right stuff. Kyle Brown's come back in fit and leading the side very well. And the boys seem to have a great sort of great team spirits and a great connection. So that's looking good for us ahead of the Olympics next year.
Yeah, well, I mean, they did. They won Dubai, they won South Africa, and they finished, I think, 3rd in the Australian League. 4th, sorry.
Yeah, we're top of the log at the moment.
Yeah, top of the log.
Just barely, but we are.
Well, we're 8 points clear of the Fijians and a full 12 clear of New Zealand.
And it's 20 points for a title, so 22. So it's not a hell of a lot in the greater scheme of things. We just make sure that we get high up on the points, if not win it this year.
Yeah, and I mean, that side is just ridiculously strong. Frankie Horn is the only player in the history of the 7 series to play 62 consecutive tournaments. He will now go to 63 in Wellington. And Cecil Africa is now the highest scoring player in 7 series history for South Africa. It went past Fabian Juries in PE in December. And I mean, the side, when you look at it, the tournament after tournament, it just basically looks the same. There's no...
It's a good core.
Yeah, there's no surprise names. Warwick Galant is only into his 2nd tournament, but he looked at talent from when we saw him at, SA Schools last year. Yeah, he's... was at Varsity Cup. Somewhere I've seen him playing in the last year or 2, and he looks the goods.
Yeah, he does. I think it may have been Junior Curry Cups, I think.
Or Junior World Cup.
Yeah. But either way, we did see him, we did chat about him, and it was mentioned that he was in the 7 setup early on, so we obviously kept an eye on him. But, the core of the team is travelling, and then there's 2 or 3 guys changing in the squad every time. So we slowly but surely building up another group of players to come through. And it's a great setup, and I take my hat off to Neil Powell and the guys and Templeton Jones. I think it's Temple Jones who's...
there's 4 or 5 guys that have played Curry Cup in this setup, so looking forward to it. If you're getting home late from the Cape Town 10s on Saturday morning, 1 a.m. the Boks kick the tournament off against France. 3:52 if you're getting up early to feed babies, they're playing Japan, and then at 7:10 at a more reasonable hour of the day, they will be playing the USA. And just to clarify, so that's the Bok pool. What I wanted to do is just clarify who is in New Zealand's pool, because look, Papua New Guinea are going to be the whipping boys in there, but Canada and England are certainly no easy walkovers, and that Kiwi side is looking a little frazzled and tired would be the word I'm using.
They're not looking as ruthless as they used to look. They always do a win, and they can always turn it on whenever, but they're not their consistent best. And they're going to need everyone at Westpac in Wellington to get behind them if they're going to run up against Fiji or South Africa in the knockouts, because both those sides are massively in the running. England are always good for an upset somewhere along the line, and Australia very young and very good at the moment.
Yeah. Look, their pool's also a little bit tough because they've got Fiji, Portugal, and Wales. And
in Australia's pool?
Yeah. So, and the Portuguese, even though they'll probably finish in last spot, and they still are capable of the odd upset. They play a decent enough game. And then the final pool looks like it could be anyone's, really. Argentina, Kenya, Samoa, and Scotland. Any one of those four could also get through into the quarterfinal spot.
You definitely want to put Samoa in there.
Yeah,
and then
but at the same time, they're also quite capable of falling apart.
And the second spot is a pretty much a fight out. That could be quite interesting.
Yeah. So that kicks off, as we said, 1 a.m. on Saturday morning. If you're getting in late and you're eating midnight snacks before going to bed, you can join Sharky, who's going to be covering the entire day's sevens rugby. What's that, 9 hours straight?
Yeah, and straight into tens. And a little fines meeting afterwards. Back in for the quarters.
Folks, you're listening to Driving Maul on Loud Radio with Blokes Judge Rugby. We're going to play a little bit of music. When we come back, we're going to tear into the latest Super Rugby news and what's going on in all the different franchises. Chat to you soon. Enjoy a little bit of Eric Clapton and the UB40. Welcome back to Driving Maul with Blokes Judge Rugby, live on Loud Radio every Tuesday at 11 a.m. Sharky, time to chat some Super Rugby. It starts in 2 weeks, about the same time as the cricket, Valentine's Day. What a lovely weekend that's going to be.
I've planned well for this.
We're just going to discuss briefly the goings on around the 5 South African franchises in brief ahead of next week. We'll get more in depth in terms of fixtures and the Aussies and the Kiwis and their chances. But fire away. Lions, Sharks, all yours. Go for it.
Cool. I'm going to give a start of the Sharks. I just want to run through a few players, the ins and outs of some of the squad, and we can just kind of discuss and see how we think they're going to fare come the end of the year. Obviously, the main ones, talking points, mainly will be the guys coming in, and the Sharks have signed a couple of old boys. Matt Stevens was in last year, but he'll play. I don't think he played Super Rugby last year. He only played Curry Cup. Not entirely sure, but anyway, Matt Stevens and Maurits Botha come in, both from Saracens. Two old hands coming in to sort the youngsters out. But a big signing for them, and a guy who did exceptionally well in the Curry Cup was Ronaldo Botma. He's from the Pumas, 8th man, and
who's already been capped for
Namibian international, yeah.
And the Sharks let him go.
Yeah, well,
now they brought him back.
Must pay.
He was exceptional in the Curry Cup.
Yeah. Conrad Hoffman and Lionel Cronier both come in from the Brumbies, so they'll be in the squad. Waylon Murray's made a move back to the Shark Tank from the Bulls after going to the Lions, and then he was injured for a little bit.
And he played for the Kings, and
yes,
he's been floating around everywhere. But it sounds like they were thoroughly impressed with what he got up to in pre-season training.
Listen, he's a quality player. He's just been injured.
Yeah, I'm excited to see him back. I've always quite liked watching him play, and he gives them a decent option at 13.
And at 13, if he hits the form that he hit when he was capped, then Hanneke Meyer is going to have a lot to think about, because I don't think it's enough time for him to change his mind, but he's a great option to put pressure on the guys playing there at the moment.
And there's also a thing called injuries. It's a long season to get to November still.
Yeah. And then another interesting move is Jack Wilson. He's a youngster come in from Saracens. He actually played for Saracens this weekend. He left the Sharks training camp and went to go play for Sarries against the Bulls as a little
spy.
Yeah, a little look-see. That's that, very well said, yeah. Listen, there's enough spies in Saracens as it is. So. But anyway, kid's got a lot of gas, and looking forward to seeing what he's got. I don't recall him too much for Saracens, to be honest. He hasn't really didn't play too much first team. He's definitely going to be coming into the mix. And then obviously Jake White out and Gary Gold in. But Jake White out has been said a number of times because it's listed as Tonga, but he's with Montpellier at the moment.
Yeah, Gary Gold is a pretty decent signing. He's certainly got the CV to go with a job like the Sharks director of coaching, I think, or is he in charge of the Sharks Super Rugby and Brad McLeod Henderson floating around as a wingman? Or
I'm not entirely sure.
I don't think even the Sharks
works.
are entirely sure.
Well, yeah, but I think. Listen, McLeod Henderson hasn't done a bad job in the Curry Cup. I think that if both the Curry Cup and the Super Rugby squads and upper management would have learned from the experience last year. Let's see if they can build from it. Lions have, I tell you the big thing, not any much the people that have left and the people that have come in, but the main thing for me was Johan Ackermann managed to secure 5 massive guys for an extended contract. And that was Marnitz Boshoff, Warren Whiteley, Ruan Dreyer and Julian Redling-Hayes, and there was one other. That is massive for me in terms of the core of the Lions. That's probably the best business they will do. Those 5 guys, all on top form, most of them being capped already and are touted as books post the Rugby World Cup.
And it's also easy to, I mean, the fact that with the changes coming to the Super Rugby format in 2016, it means that they could actually tie these guys down to longer contracts because there's no chance of the Lions not playing Super Rugby next year.
Yes, and they're all signed till 2015, which is only really one season. It sounds a little bit longer, but they're till 2016, but it's only really one season. But the core of the guys that they've signed in are massive, and to me, that's making a statement. The Lions seem to be pulling themselves out of the darkness and into the light, and doing so well. There's good business going on. There's good contracts coming in. There's good sponsorship deals. So looking forward to them.
They still won't finish above 12th.
Well, not this year, but next year. Be careful. Howard Mnisi's joined the side from the Cheetahs. Sampi Maastricht has joined them from the Bulls.
Is there anybody left at the Cheetahs?
Yeah, not many.
But Mnisi's a good signing. I watched him play live in the Varsity Cup season before last, and at the Green Mile in a Howling Southeaster in an 8-all draw, I think it was.
Yes, I remember that game.
And he was exceptional. Best player on the park on the day. So looking forward to see what he can get up to because he will get an extended run in that line setup because Doppies has retired.
Yes, that's the thing is I want to see more of him. I'm a big fan. He's a big guy, but he's got some really good hands, and defensively he's quite sound. He was left a bit wanting last year, maybe out of position, maybe nerves, just settling in. But I believe that he's got what it takes to go a little bit further.
And his games, there's a lot more to his game than just crash ball 12. I mean, there was that delightful little chip that he put through at some stage in the Currie Cup. He played a chip through for somebody.
He's got skills. Got skills. He's not your dazzling centre, but he is a centre that is going to do his job exceptionally well and distribute the ball. With the gas that we have in the outside backs, it's good to see that. Cheetahs.
Yeah, look, before we get onto them, let's do the Stormers and the Bulls, and then we can both banter on the Cheetahs. What I did want to just discuss before we move on, because what you've neglected to mention is that the Sharks are playing Toulon on Thursday.
I haven't forgotten about it. We'll chat about
it. And what I do find, and the other thing that I know you probably mentioned it, but the one that I'm looking forward to having a look at this season is that big, massive Andre Esterhuizen playing in the backs for the Sharks. I'm not sure how much game time he's going to get, but he's certainly an exciting prospect in terms of the way South African rugby likes to set itself up with its outside backs. And centres. He's like 6 foot something and 100 and something thousand kilograms.
He's young and he's still very book, and you can see he's that bashing up 12 that has always had the better of his other 12s, and he will catch a wake up in Super Rugby where they will get on top of him, and they will know how to manage him. The old heads will know how to manage that type of player, and you can get into his head. I did see that in Currie Cup. You can easily get into his head. Bit of a loose cannon. He's like Etzebeth, like the haze drops over the eyes. So if you can manage that discipline side of things,
the skills are there.
But everything else is there. And also, the only unfortunate thing is that he needs to develop his passing game as well, because it's a no-brainer that he's going to crash the ball up. But when you have two defenders commit to you, you start offloading the ball, and then it's points all weekend.
What's interesting is that you say crash the ball up, but he was playing at 13 for the junior box at the World Cup, was he not?
I think he might have moved around. We did have a few injuries, but he was a 12. He's
okay. All right, on to the Bulls. And the big news coming out of the Bulls camp is the ruck inspector is back. Piers Spiess after 2 years out injured. And look, I mean, we can all take the piss, but there is something quite special about watching him in full flight with ball in hand. I know he's good
on the wing.
Yeah, we take issue with his tight phase game, but let's see. He knows he's behind the 8 ball now in terms of getting into the World Cup. And he's got to play out of his skin to make that squad, because the loose forward combinations and players that Meyer's got in his squad, and the fact that Dwayne is an on-field leader and potential Bok captain for the World Cup if Jean de Villiers isn't there, means that we could see an interesting Piers Spiess. And he was quite candid about the fact that the game's moved on. He's 2 years behind in terms of speed and play, etc. But he's back.
Very valid point that you mentioned in terms of the fact that he's behind the 8 ball and he's got to work now. There's no complacency, and I'm not saying he was, but to me, he wasn't. When he, just before he got injured, he was just going with the flow, and he was selected everywhere because of who he was. Now he's got work to do, and now we're going to see
we'll see whether he is
the mettle of the man and see what he's got. He didn't listen. He scored a try against Saracens on Saturday, but he also did cause a bit of a faux pas at the back of the scrum that allowed the Saracens to score a try. The ball shot out. He also missed a couple of tackles in the 20 minutes that he was on. So it was a bit of a mixed review, because everyone thinks, he scored a try, must have been brilliant.
But let's be honest,
it was his first game back in 2
years. He hasn't played in 2 years. Yeah. We'll give him a bit of leeway.
Looking forward to it.
No, me too, because I do. As I said, I enjoy watching him in full flight with ball in hand on the high-felt fields.
And in form, doing his job, he's a massive asset.
No, absolutely. But the Bulls have plenty of injury concerns already. Bandisu Maku's probably out till July with a pectoral injury. Flip van der Merwe's also done a pec. They must have been high-fiving. He's out till mid-April. Henkus van Wyk, who I don't know too much about, is out till the end of February. Pierre Skuman is out until July. Adrian Strauss is out until just before the season kicks off. And young Jason Jenkins should be back this week. And then in terms of signings, look, I mean, I'm sure they've brought plenty in, but the ones that we all know about are the fact that they have pilfered Adrian Strauss, Lapis Labuschagne and Trevor Nyakani from the Cheetahs. And I wouldn't be surprised to see Lapis breaking into a green and gold jumper within the next 2 seasons if he gets a decent run at the Bulls, because he's definitely got the game. I know that there's plenty of other guys around, but at the same time, it's 2015 Rugby World Cup year. There are going to be a lot of Springboks who are going to hang up their Bok blazers come December time. And then, as you said, they played Saracens in London on Saturday, 39-26 win, which sounds like an absolute hiding, but you need to keep in mind that Saris were missing all of their England players who were in camp ahead of the Six Nations.
And they were missing effectively 2 squads, because the Six Nations and then the Saxons were also, and bearing in mind they had an LV Cup game the next day, so
it was
quite a
so 39-26 isn't really a big.
But having said that, that was a majority of their first team. Neil de Kock was in there, Ernst Joubert, Jacques Berger. There were a lot of tops. Listen, they're doing the job in the
but all men. But all I'm saying is that 39-26 and a 6-try romp, the way the press was carrying on, is glossing it over a little bit, because it wasn't the Sari side that is competing at Heineken Cup level or European Championship level, what the hell they want to call it now.
The Bulls driving Maul was exceptional. The Bulls scrum was destroyed.
There we go. On to the Stormers.
I'm sorry, I'm going to jump in. There's one player that the Bulls have acquired that I really want to talk about, is Jumbo Olengo.
Oh, yes. And that was the one that I knew there was one floating around. He's got some skills for a big lad.
He's massive. He's on the wing. I don't think he got the ball once against Saracens. He started. They did make a number of changes. It was a 39-man squad. But he on the wing is unbelievable. He's big, he's strong, he's quick, and he does a lot of graft. And I was a bit bummed when I saw him go to the Bulls, because I really was hoping he'd go somewhere else. If they start distributing the ball to him, he's going to make waves in Super Rugby.
Now, fair enough. But now, who did Giant sign for?
Who?
Giant from the Pumas, the big lock.
I don't know. We'll find out. I'll find out.
He signed for one of the Super Rugby franchises. And it's definitely not the Stormers or the Sharks.
It might be in the... I'll have a little look-see for you now.
We'll try and track it down.
If anyone needs a lock right now, it's the Cheetahs, and we'll get to them.
No, it's actually the Stormers that need locks, to be perfectly honest. Because they looked like they were going to start the season with an absolute plethora of locks selection options. And in the meantime, what's happened is Eben Etzebeth is out injured for at least 4 weeks. Manuel Carriza, the Argentinian, is out for 3 with a shoulder injury, and first choice number 5, Ruan Buerta, is yet to get back on the playing field after getting injured in the Currie Cup. Combined with that, news that's come out of the Western Province camp this week is Gerbrand Grobler, the young lock, has actually failed a drug test. They were saying it's a health issue, which is why he wasn't at training for the last few weeks. Western Province Union are yet to make an actual statement on it, but it sounds like he's going to cop a 2-year ban. Interestingly enough, He was expected to sit out the whole of the 2014 season after breaking his ankle, and then it's believed he was pressed back into action in the final game against the Sharks because they needed someone to fill in at lock when the province played a weakened side ahead of the Currie Cup final. And he played so well and had bulked up so much that they pumped him up to the bench, which is when he got tested and is now banned for 2 years. Meanwhile, he'd spent the last 12 months trying to come right and be a silly boy by using other shit to get right.
Well, the big thing is he hasn't contested it, and he didn't ask for a B sample, so it doesn't look good for him at the moment. And he is a massive candidate for checking and stuff like that because he's come back from injury. A lot of guys that you see are actually trying to come back from injury. They're doing busy in recovery and stuff like that, and they are sometimes taking stuff they shouldn't, and you find a lot of the positives come out of that, positive tests.
And it's bad man management and I'm not saying that the hierarchy within the club knew what was going on, but I'm also not saying they didn't. And anyway, needless to say, it's a pity because he's a promising talent and he's certainly got the skills. But now he's going to be missing from rugby for 2 years, which will take him into his mid-20s, and he'll be even further behind the 8 ball than he is already when the lock combination's floating around in this country. Stormers beat the Cheetahs 39-31 over the weekend. They led 29-10 at half-time. Worrying thing for me as a Stormers fan is... And now I've gone completely blank. Who was the defensive coach? Ninabo. Jacques Ninabo is no longer the defensive coach for the Stormers.
Really?
Yeah, he's gone. Which means Alistair Coetzee is now the defensive coach for the Stormers. And they led 29-10 at half-time and only managed to win 39-31. And on that, it sounds like, and please, you need to understand that hashtag Coetzee out probably had nothing to do with this, but it seems that Ali Coetzee might be off to coach in Japan at the end of Super Rugby, where there's smoke, there's fire.
My understanding is everything's been signed and sealed. So Alice Coetzee is off to Kobe at the end of Super Rugby.
Eddie Jones was seen sunning himself in Cape Town.
Eddie Jones is in and will manage the Super Rugby. He will coach Super Rugby for 2016. Dobbo will look after the Currie Cup side when Coetzee is gone. I just would like to say one thing. There, a lot of, and I was one of them, worried about Alistair Coetzee and his coaching, and I said a number of times he's hit his ceiling. Since Gert Smal has come in, Coetzee has seemed a little bit more relaxed and a little bit more, the side has seemed different about it. And we saw that in the Currie Cup. They definitely look different in the Currie Cup.
But at the same time, the ructions seem to be that because he's lost his power in terms of who he can sign and who turns up. And
now look at it from this point of view.
Paul True got signed as an assistant coach without a consultation for Coetzee, so he's basically given his finger.
Look at it from this point of view. Yeah. Is the way I saw it as well is that Coetzee had that unofficially was the director of rugby and was managing so much that they couldn't handle it. Where now Gert Smal is doing that, and now Coetzee can focus on doing what he wants to do, and that is coaching. Just food for thought. If you look at it in two different angles, you can have a little look-see. But we'll wait and see. And also another thing I'm looking at doing is Bongi Monami at hooker for the Stormers for this year. I'm looking forward to seeing what he's got.
And there weren't too many other signings that came in. I know they picked up, as you said, that Bulls hooker, and there was
Vincent Koch for the propeller from Pumas. But other than that, most of the guys are all guys that have been hanging around. They've actually lost quite a number of players. But pretty much the core of the side. The one that stands out for me, obviously, the props that have gone, Pat Cilliers and Brock Harris and Sitole. Sitole is a youngster, but he's dropped down out of the Stormer side into the Western Province side. So he's still still in the mix. But also in terms of hooker, Tian Limburg's retired. Taz Fazani, that youngster, really good, a little bit injury prone. He's left for EP. De Koksteenkamp gone. Ryan Kitsoff, that Lucy, he's dropped into the Vodacom Cup side. Dylan Fryling, the scrummies, left.
Yeah. Dylan Lades is back from the Brumbies.
Yeah, he wasn't at the Brumbies though. He was at the Force.
Sorry, Force, yes.
Peter Grant, Gary van Asweg and gone. So both your 10s are out. So that pretty much leaves Dimitri Kachkelis, Kurt Coleman.
Who, by the sounds of it, is off to Montpellier at the end of Super Rugby.
Yes, that's... Yeah, but Kurt Coleman's the man for me. He's the right guy. Michael van der Spey's left, the centre. And then Gio
I think he's still a loan deal. I don't think he's left.
That's good because Pat Howard comes back as well from Pat Howard impressed me when he was in Munster, when he went to Munster. He was on Munster as a medical joker for that little Paul Scholes looking kid.
Take your word for it.
He got there first week, was on the bench. For the rest of the time he was there, started at outside centre. Unbelievable.
Yeah, he certainly has impressed in the last couple of years in Vodacom Cup and Varsity Cup. Not too much change in that Stormers setup, and there will be guys coming back from injury. I was really looking forward to seeing the extra beast on the field, but he's already damaged the chest running into Cheetahs.
He shouldn't have been playing. My personal opinion was he shouldn't have played this weekend. I didn't think he would be ready, and the age-old thing was complaining last year.
#Kutsia out.
Everyone is forcing players to come back too soon. It happens with Jean de Villiers. It happens with Etzebeth. The guys need time off, and they're not going to get it. Not in a World Cup year anyway.
Moving on to the Cheetahs. Good news for them. Heinrich Brasseau and Johan Sadi should be back because their sides lost their wildcard playoffs in the Japanese rugby. So they're heading back. They should be here in time for the kickoff of Super Rugby because the Cheetahs have lost to both the Bulls and the Stormers in their warm-up games. And then Springboks, Willie Leroux, Cornel Hendricks, Mohoja and Connie Oosthuizen and Loet de Jager are all back in the mix moving forward. And then they've got one or two signings. The one that stands out is Willie Brits that they've picked up from the Lions with his insane hair.
Massive. He impressed me, and he kind of fell by the wayside last year. He had to play second fiddle to that massive loose trio the Lions had already. But he's impressive, and he's got a good Super Rugby future in him. So let's see how he does.
And then the one to watch is Joe Peterson at 10.
Yes, he. A friend of mine knows him quite well, and he told me, he says they signed him and they said you will be playing 10. That was from the get go. He wanted to play. He was going to be playing at fly half, and it's quite interesting. He did pick up a bit of an injury this weekend, unfortunately, when he played the when he played Stormers. And
he actually didn't play. They rested him.
Oh, was he injured before?
He might have picked the injury up against the Bulls. They
sorry.
Yeah, they definitely said he wasn't going to play against the Stormers. I don't really follow preseason
and
stuff
another big problem
too closely, aside from the injury counts.
The other signing, Sergio Peterson, has also picked up an injury. Yeah, broke his jaw
against the Bulls.
Bummer.
I understand the need for preseason games, but surely you should be playing against the Pumas and the Leopards in a preseason game and not against your direct opposition who... anyway, whatever. We are going to go to another music break. When we come back, we're going to be chatting United Nations. Six Nations, as they like to call it, which gets underway this weekend. You're listening to Driving Maul on Loud Radio. We'll be back after a bit of John Cougar Mellencamp. Welcome back to Driving Maul on Loud Radio. Sharky, it's time to chat Six Nations, and I know I was joking about calling it the United Nations, but it is just ridiculous how many foreign-born players the Six Nations sides are starting to pick. Off the top of my head, I think there are 3 or 4 in the French squad, South African-born. Never mind the Fijians and South Pacific Islanders that are floating around. England have definitely got 3 or 4 that were born in Australia and Samoa and South Africa. Ireland have got 2 guys floating around in their squad. Wales have got the odd one. Anyway, I'm personally looking forward to it because it's basically a playoff to see who is the most likely to be the 4th semi-finalist at the Rugby World Cup.
Yeah, interesting. Just touching back on those squads again, Gareth Anscombe played for the Chiefs. He's been playing for Cardiff. He's selected in the Welsh squad, but he's not in the run-on side or the bench for the first game this weekend.
But now you see, with a guy like Anscombe and even Sean Maitland, I don't have issues with those guys, right? Because they didn't go overseas and play for 4 years and qualify to play for a country. Their grandparents or mother or somebody
they were directly
qualified them, and they know that the likelihood of them playing Test rugby for New Zealand is very small, and they'd like to have a crack at it. So by all means,
same as Clyde Rathbone, same as Brad Barrett.
Absolutely, I have no qualms with guys that do that. My issue is when you've got a Richard Strauss turning out for England and for Ireland, and a Moritz Botha rolling his wheels out.
You must be careful. Moritz Botha, he finished his school in the UK, I think. But now I'm going to say conversely, let's say one of these youngsters that we've just spoken about in the Super Rugby squad has been released. JP Duplessis. He's a centre. He played in Australia. He's a Cape Town guy. Played at Gym or Paul Boys. I'm not sure exactly where. He's not getting a contract in South Africa. He's now gone back to France. Let's say he stays there for 4 or 5 years. Scott Spedding is a great example. He played SA Under 21, blah, 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 and all that sort of jazz. And then he wasn't selected in the Sharks thing. And he thought, you know what, my career's over. I'm not playing Super Rugby for the Sharks. I got a great offer in France. I'm going to go play in France. He went to go play France.
Yeah.
Let me finish. He went to go and play in France because he wanted to further his career, and he made France his home. And then he became a citizen just purely because he'd been there so long. And then the French were in trouble, and they were like, well, hang on a second, you're playing great rugby for Bayonne at the moment. You are a French citizen. You qualify normally. Boom. Yes. What's wrong with that?
Nothing's wrong with that, because there are plenty of guys who want to play rugby and make a career out of it who aren't getting the opportunity within the franchises in South Africa. Understandable. It's the guys that are signed on contracts where they are essentially, in inverted commas, offered the opportunity to play test rugby for that country as part of the deal in the contract. That shit winds me up.
Yeah, it's all a business. The Aussies have been doing it for ages. They sign guys on contracts saying, listen, you come under the pretense that you will stay for 4 years, you will become an Aussie citizen. If we require you will play for Australia, not for South Africa. Yeah. You know, you look at stuff like that. Anyway, on
to the Six Nations.
On that topic, Rob Herring, Cape Town boy, Sax schooled, played under 21 at Hammies, and played Varsity Cup at Marty's. Played for the Irish Wolfhounds this last weekend. He's just been released from the Irish Six Nations squad. He's gone back to Ulster, but another Cape Town boy in the mix, which was good to see. He's been doing pretty well at Ulster. Youngster still. I think he's at 23 or 24 at hooker, so he's still got a good few years left in him. So we can have South Africans running the hooker department for the Irish for a while. But anyway, round 1 this weekend. Yes. Massive game first up, and to me is the winner of this versus Ireland will be up there in terms of who's going to win the Six Nations. But at the Millennium Stadium, Wales are hosting England. Boom. Friday evening, there you go.
And the Welsh have laid down a marker early by announcing their side 48 hours before the deadline.
Brilliant. I love it. I love a little bit of banter.
Only 2 changes from their last game, with North back from injury and Hibbard back from injury. And somebody's playing their 50th, and I've forgotten who the hell it is.
I remember. I also forget. England are now struggling because they've got under so many injuries,
and they've placed themselves under so much pressure by training with loudspeakers because they say they got rattled by the crowd noise last season.
But you know what? That's a great way of feeding people something to talk about for 2 days while you figure out who your starting lineup is. No, it's also because everyone's talking about the speakers.
It's also a great way to wind up 80,000 Welshmen who are going to pile into the Millennium Stadium on Friday night and absolutely blow the roof off.
Brilliant. And you know they're doing it all for you, so there's something to build on. So that's Friday night, and that's how we get started. And I truly believe that the winner of that game, and to me it's more likely that it's going to be Wales, because they just seem a little bit of a better side. Most of their players are fit, settled,
Lancaster
and
still doesn't seem to know who his first choice 22 are, and the World Cup is less than 6 games away. I tell you,
Danny Cipriani needs an extended run in that side. He's got the back line. My issue is, I think Stuart Lancaster has got his head so far around having a kicking 10 that he's not able to advance his training and the backline players how he wants it, to have a Cipriani or someone in there, because Sips is going to send the ball out wide and the backs are dying for it, and he wants to play a more controlled, settled 10-man game, unfortunately, it seems.
How shocking are we? It's Sam Warburton's 50th Test match.
Oh, shocker. I thought it was Lydiot. But anyway, Captain Courageous. And then on Saturday, we see 2 interesting clashes. Possible banana peels, but should be set out victories. Italy will host Ireland. The only thing that is a problem for Ireland right here is the fact that it's at Stadio Olimpico. Terrible. A lot of the players say it is just terrible going to Italy to play rugby. It's such massive home ground advantage, and they say it's a different beast altogether. Ireland should win that comfortably, but with the Italians, you don't really know what's coming. Talking about not knowing what's coming, the last game of the weekend, France are playing in Paris against Scotland. Now, they should...
With a former stonemason at first choice fly half for the Scots. Finn Russell, where does he come from? And all of a sardine. I know that there's injuries. There's a long-term injury.
But he's been playing out and about. Finn Russell's been doing well in the Pro 12. So he deserves his call up. The French should win that. But again, those Scotland are down a few injuries. That's the massive thing at the start of the weekend. Bearing in mind the Six Nations does not have a bonus point system. So you win and you lose and you draw. There's no 4-try bonus points and stuff like that. So it's very important to win your home games and win first up, because once you try it's difficult to recover a loss. You can't do it easily with a bonus point win the next week. And then the following week is quite interesting, because we'll chat about it next week, but England, Italy at Twickenham Stadium, that should be an easy win. Ireland, France at Aviva in Dublin, and then Scotland, Wales. So it's tough 2 weeks for the guys, but it's a World Cup year, and there's so much. Coaches want everything to come together now.
3 Kiwi coaches going head to head in the Six Nations.
Cool, bring it.
The fun fact of the day: Jake Ball, the lock for Wales, played cricket for New South Wales.
Really, there's a lot. The Scottish, I had a look at the Scottish side. There was one youngster who had been in Scotland for, I think he signed with Edinburgh. I think he'd been there for a month, and he just finished playing ITM Cup, and he was in the Scotland wider training group, much to his surprise. But anyway, they dug up a little something, and there you go, bud. You're in the mix.
Oh, we found your grandma's passport.
Yeah. But youngster, someone for the future. I think he's a hooker or a prop. So, but yeah, and that's pretty much the mix of things for the weekend. I think
Ireland will canter the Six Nations, in my opinion.
I think
they play at home against the Welsh.
Yes, they do. Second last game of the week of the tournament. I think whoever England beats between Ireland and Wales, that will decide who wins. So, for instance, I think it's between Wales and Ireland, and I think England will beat one of them, or France, for that matter.
Yeah, look, the French are the enigmatic French. You just never know. They could end up losing all 6 games. They could end up winning it, running away.
Yeah, going into World Cup favourites.
So there you have it, folks. We'll be back next Tuesday, 11 a.m. for some more Driving Maul ahead of Super Rugby in its current and final season of the format that it's in, before it gets even more convoluted and confused. Sharky, it's been awesome. Enjoy the rugby this weekend. I will be standing on the side of the field at some stage on Friday afternoon having a good giggle. Until then, be safe, be kind to each other, and we will catch you next week. This has been Driving Maul on Loud Radio, where blokes judge rugby.
Bye.